Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to those of you logging in from Singapore, and good morning to those of you zooming in from the UAE. My name is Amanda Williams, and I'm from Barouge PTE, a corporate sponsor member of the UAE Singapore Business Council. Today, I'll be accompanying you throughout our journey on the webinar today as your MC. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge our VIPs that are joining us in attendance today. His Excellency Jamal Abdullah Al Suwaidi, the UAE Ambassador to Singapore and patron of the UAE Singapore Business Council. We also have Dr. Brian Shigar, President of the UAE Singapore Business Council, and we also have our distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this webinar today entitled the UAE Investment Workshop for 2021, Opportunities in Smart City and IT, organized by the UAE Singapore Business Council, or known as the UAESBC. If this is the first UAESBC event you've ever attended, then welcome. Thanks for joining us. For your info, the UAESBC is a business organization registered in Singapore in March 2018. The council is made up of members representing companies and individuals who are or aspire to be part of the Singapore-UAE business nexus. During the visit of the Abu Dhabi Crown Prince to Singapore in 2019, the UAESBC was recognized in the Singapore-UAE Comprehensive Partnership Agreement signed by both the UAE and Singapore governments as a conduit to facilitate bilateral trade, investment, and industry. The Council organizes various activities to promote understanding and connectivity between the UAE and Singapore, including quarterly business talks, workshops, seminars, networking sessions, and business delegations. The UAE Investment Workshop series was launched in 2018 as one of the Council's main flagship events to be held annually in conjunction with the National Day of the United Arab Emirates in early December. This year, the UAE celebrates the 50th Golden Jubilee of their nationhood. On the 2nd of December, 1971, the leaders of the 7 Emirates came together in a peaceful merger, united under the elected leadership of the first president, His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. Today, 50 years later, the UAE is recognized as the most future-ready country in the Arab world and third in the world among emerging global economies. Ladies and gentlemen, Smart City IT solutions is one of the most important fields for the UAE government. This is underpinned in the Economic Vision 2030 strategy, conceptualized in Abu Dhabi and the Dubai 2040 plan. In addition, Singapore is, of course, no stranger in the smart city arena, clinching the title for the world's smartest city for the 3rd year running this year. The UAESBC is therefore pleased to present to you in this unique platform a chance to hear and learn from the experts and leaders in smart city and IT from both the UAE and Singapore. This event aims to inform you with the attractive opportunities available in the UAE for companies in this sector, as well as to inspire and fascinate you with the innovative trends and solutions developed by our entrepreneurial Singapore companies who have made a mark overseas. You can read the profiles of all of our speakers and panelists today by browsing through our program booklet, which we are sharing in the chat window now. Ladies and gentlemen, to start off today's event, it gives me great pleasure to invite His Excellency Jamal Abdullah Al Suwaidi, the UAE Ambassador to Singapore and patron of the UAESBC, to give our opening address. Your Excellency, please.
Amanda, thank you very much. And it is indeed, it is my pleasure to be here with you today. Allow me to, first of all, Dr. Brian, President of the UAE Singapore Business Council, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you, joining us from Singapore, and good morning to the ones connecting with us from the UAE. It gives me absolutely a great pleasure to be with you here today, hosted by the UAE Singapore Business Council, in their flagship webinar to commemorate the 50th National Day of the United Arab Emirates. This Golden Jubilee marks the celebration of the Federation's journey, rich of monumental events and achievements, building on the foundation that was first laid by the founding father, His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. Today, holding the helm is the President of the United Arab Emirates, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who is carrying on the legacy and the vision of the founding fathers. Throughout only half a century of nationhood, the UAE has achieved a number of milestones that have made significant impact on our nation, on the GCC, and on the wider world. The opening of the Expo 2020 in Dubai in October this year is a marker of 5 decades of achievement and has become a booster to overcome the challenges faced during the pandemic, to propel the nation to continue pursuing excellence in the next 50 years. Never before, an edition of an international expo hosted so many countries and brought together so many cultures. The Expo 2020 in Dubai is recognized as the largest event in the Arab world that welcomed more than 200 entities. The solutions and innovations being implemented in Expo is a perfect example of what a smart city is. And I'm happy to note that the UAESBC has decided to focus on the topic of Smart City and IT for this year's UAE Investment Workshop. Smart City IT solution is one of the most important sectors for the UAE government. As Amanda said earlier, this was strongly stipulated in this year's announcement in Dubai 2040 Urban Master Plan and the Economic Vision 2030 strategy for Abu Dhabi. As Singapore is among the leading nations in Smart City, I anticipate that we will see very interesting presentations from Singaporean companies sharing with us about their innovative and cutting-edge smart city solutions at this webinar. I'm also pleased to note that we will be seeing presentations from experts representing important UAE entities that play a major role in the promotion and implementation of smart city and IT sectors. In conclusion, I would like to thank the UAESBC for organizing this workshop and for extending an invitation for me to attend. And I would like to thank all the participants, and I wish you all a very fruitful engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. There's a lot of good points that you made there, especially that smart cities are being highlighted at the Expo. It's a tremendous opportunity for any country fortunate enough to be hosting the Expo to really highlight and spotlight the advancements, as you pointed out, in only 50 years. The UAE has come much further than countries 2 and 3 times as old. So we're very excited to be part of highlighting and showcasing these advancements in our webinar today. So ladies and gentlemen, let me allow you as your MC to go through the program itinerary for today. For your reference, we've shared the link to the program booklet in the chat window, so you can refer to it at any time for your convenience. As you can see from the program being displayed on your screens right now, the event will begin with presentation by leaders and speakers from Surbana Jurong, Abu Dhabi Investment Office, and Digital Dubai. Each presentation will include a Q&A with the respective speaker. If you would like to ask a question for the speaker, please type your question in the Q&A window, not the chat window, the Q&A window, and indicate in your question the speaker or the company name to whom you would like your question directed. Following the 3 presentations, there will be a panel discussion featuring representatives of the Singapore companies from the smart city and IT sector. The panel discussion will be moderated by Mr. P. Ramakrishna, a fellow UAESBC member who is the CEO of CIO Academy. If you have a question for any of the panelists, you please also use the Q&A window of the webinar to type in your question, not the chat window, the Q&A window. It will make it easier for us to highlight your questions to the respective company and questioner. If you, last but not least, our event today will end with closing remarks by the UAESBC's founding president, Dr. Brian Shigar. Ladies and gentlemen, it now gives me great pleasure to invite our first speaker for today, Mr. Eugene Xia, Managing Director of Smart City Solutions at Surbana Jurong. Eugene will be giving us a presentation today on megatrends in smart city solutions. Eugene?
Hello, everyone. Your Excellency, good afternoon. And ladies and gentlemen, before I can share, do you think I can have the permission to share my screen? Okay, I got it. Thank you. And can I confirm that you can see my screen?
Sure.
All
yes.
Right. Excellent. Right. So good afternoon and good morning, everyone. My name is Eugene. I'm the Managing Director of Sabana Technologies from Sabana Jurong. Today, my title is Megatrends in Smart Cities and Sustainable Cities as well. And I'll have about a 20-minute presentation to share with everybody what we are doing across the globe, and also what is our secret sauce that we have actually put into two smart cities and sustainable cities. So this is my agenda today, and I'll just go through it very quickly. A little bit about Sabana Jurong. We are 16,000 strong Asian-based company with offices in 40 over countries and 120 offices. And right now, our turnover revenue is about 1.7 billion, with a goal to increase that many times across the globe. This is our taglines: best in class in architecture, industrial parks, and most importantly, we invest in the state-of-the-art technologies, and smart cities and sustainable cities is just one of them. We are an international company, as you can see, and we do have projects in the UAE as well, and I'll be very pleased to highlight this later. And again, I'd like to send my congratulations to UAE on your Golden Jubilee celebrations of National Day. So these are just some of our projects that we have done. Our Plaza, this is done by the Robert Bird Group. On hospitality projects, this is the example of the Al Quizar Hotel. In terms of, you can see that the design that we look at it's really out of this world. But again, Abu Dhabi is a place that you are able to express your designs and technology freely. This is also in terms of commercial, the TDIC headquarters that we have done. And really, wherever we go around the world, when we design, we look at sustainability in mind, a holistic approach to biophilism, biomimicry, for example, and adopting climate responsive designs in what we do. But again, there's also amalgamation of technology, smart cities, and it's not just smart cities, but we look at it from a smart space, building, a precinct, and then that goes into a city. And I would like to show you some examples as well. And most importantly, it has to be underpinned by sustainability. The world is now looking at climate responsive designs, looking at how we can not only go green, but we can go resilient as well. So I have some examples how technologies has looked into that. So when we look into any project, we look at plan, develop, deliver, and manage. Whether it's on ICT, technology, turnkey provision, or even smart city solutions. And just some examples that we look at is on a pandemic management platform. Right now, it's being deployed in some of the dormitories in Singapore. Data science, we collect data to be able to analyze it to improve the quality of lives or do predictive or preventive maintenance. Integrated facilities management, as well as security services. So this slide basically is the crux of how we encapsulate our smart cities, smart sustainable cities solution. We look at digital, we look at facilities management and security, we look at technology, the bottom left-hand corner, and the right-hand side is look at sustainability and resilience, all encapsulated in our design and management of these cities. The breakdown is just some of the, to go through the details what we look at, but basically it's broken down into these four quadrants of how we approach in terms of design methodology, because I'm also of the view that a smart sustainable city must be designed right as well. And so things like building information modeling, using the cloud technology for hosting of information, using of blockchain to be able to look at trust technology for information that can be kept for 50 years, for example, or more. All this has to be encapsulated within smart sustainable cities ethos. So some of the technologies, one of them that we have is the platform called 24K. And this platform really is our brainchild, whereby it hosts data. It's a common data environment, and it has several layers, user-centric layers. So we are able to come up with processes for clients, for retail, for logistics, for facilities management and security, and so on and so forth. We are able to have a visualization layer, a digital twin, and this is just some examples I can show you. We have a common data environment that ingests all this data. We have an IoT layer so that we'll be able to receive information from IoT sensors. We have a data science layer and a governance, API management, and microservices layer. But most importantly, when this was designed, it's designed with a standard, and the standard is ISO 37100. You look it up. Basically, it's an ISO that marries sustainability, smart cities, resilient cities together as one. And when we designed this and improved this on the last couple of years, we realized very quickly that we need to make sure we benchmark to an international standard. And right now, whether is it Wells International, whether is it IFC Edge, whether is it TrueWays from UAESBC, or even in Australia, Infrastructure Sustainability Council, this system is able to augment the outputs so that we can take in all these requirements from our clients and analyze it and implement it in smart cities. So what sort of IoT sensors can we put in? Well, I think it's really limitless. This is just some of the examples that we have: ammonia sensors for toilets, lift monitoring, energy monitoring. We have also used rat sensors, whereby we managed to catch rats in our offices using technology and using AI as well, and how interesting that is. Right now, we are looking at how we can use sensors for mosquitoes and for pests, for example, flood detections, and so on and so forth. So really, the sky is the limit, and we are able to integrate all these. But the most important question is the so what? What can we do with this data? And that's where I'll put on my take off my technology hat and put on my FM hat, security hat. I'm a project management hat or designer hat, or even a client hat, to say this is what I'm going to use my data for. And so, for example, when for ammonia sensors, we'll be able to detect smells, right, or odors that's actually coming out way before cleaning is actually needed, and that basically is cleaning on demand. And I'll be able to then track, why there's this cleaning is actually needed, how fast it's actually done, and then adjust manpower so that I don't need to have full-time people on site. So, again, this is to drive efficiency and efficacy, drive productivity, and most importantly, for the users in these cities, improve the quality of life. So really, the future of smart cities is looking at how we are able to bring in, technology, procedures, services to really improve the quality of lives of people living in these cities. It is not just bringing in all the technologies I want, but it's to answer the so what's. It's to answer, how is this going to improve my life? How is this development going to be put in a brownfield? For example, in this slide, a brownfield site. So one of our expertise is to go to cities that are already developed and say, okay, let's see what how we can work together with the municipals, with the mayors, to see how we can put first and foremost processes in to improve. Then we look at the technology layer and so on and so forth. So whether it's brownfield sites like this, or even greenfield sites, we will be able to have a methodology, a design approach for our clients. Of course, the clients have asked me which one is easier, brownfield or greenfield. Well, both of them have their different nuances, but very happy to sit down, with clients to sit down to see how we can solution the whole thing out and come up with a good outcome. So when we look at cities, right? We for now the major trend is this thing called city management as a service, whereby it is not just looking at precincts or buildings. It's looking at how cities can come together how cities can use data collectively, find the link, the neuron link, and then come out with solutions so that we'll be able to address basic things like climate change, or even how we can improve quality of life for the people living in these cities. Some of the examples are here, it's like really is looking at, for example, pandemic management, knowing how to trace, but knowing how to live in an endemic world, using virtual realities, robots for cleanings, and virtual patrolling, and so on and so forth. And all this is then brought together on the platform, right, called 24K. And again, when we are able to look at different precincts or area 1, 2, or 3, for example, and bring it together, and so that when it comes to management of these cities, right, when you say management, it could be utilities, or it could be municipal, it could be things like even security or even fire. How do we react in an emergency situation? All these scenarios can be placed within the platform itself and simulated, or in the actual event executed, so that everyone knows what is their roles and responsibilities. So what's the outcome? So this is some of the examples that we have interviewed our clients. We have so we've put it to tangible and intangible. Yeah. So the intangible benefits would be really like client satisfaction, and that's through a Likert scale. We will know, we probably know how happy they are, and delivering of quality. Sometimes the value of buildings goes up, so on and so forth. But the tangible benefits really is cost savings for our clients. Yeah, they have reported because of the more efficient process. Remember, I said 24K has a process management workflow. Processes become more efficient. There's the checking done by the computer, becomes faster in terms of productivity. New skills are actually born, and really it's something that they are sitting at a city level itself. There is improvement. In fact, we have been asked to extend our services more to infrastructures as well, and that's why now our 24K is able to work on infrastructure sustainability. So it could be dams, roads, bridges, and so on and so forth, able to collect relevant information, right? So that we'll be able to understand how infrastructure works. Now, this is just an example of how we can get information from people, and this is just a video to show of our feedback application. And this is an example of how we work with the Changi Airport in terms of getting information, so that we can surgically go and address that information. So it's basically the Changi experience, and having applications to residents, and when these residents see these issues in their town councils, in their blocks, they inform the town council manager straight away, and things get done. We also have a predictive tool that even before lifts or escalators get spoiled or break down, we are there even before that. And can you imagine you're actually rushing to work and things go wrong, and there's going to be a pile-up of people. That's not going to be very good. But by changing and upgrading the list, for example, at night, at silent hours, the next day you don't even know that there was an upgrade, and that's where people get happy with, in terms of city management service. So again, bring back to looking at spaces. This is just an example of space real-time monitoring, with data analytics, to even environments whereby we have our sensors, example of air pressure, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone. We are able to measure and monitor all these, put into the system, and then answer the so what's. Why do I want to measure things like methane, for example? Too much methane is also not very good, because as we know it's combustible. But the big question is, why is there methane gas? And and then we will start going into the details. So it's in the future trend of smart cities I see is again, taking Singapore as just an example. It's really having a connected nation, and not only that, connected nation that we can then take the data to understand why things are happening, how things are happening, and then what we can do to design better. I call it data-driven design. And in terms of management, how we do that, it has to be smart as well. And that's where these type of tools, where we use BIM, building information modeling, for integrated FM or for BIM, for digital twins, for example. And this is where the design information and data from the design stage and construction stage can be used all the way to the asset monitoring and asset management stage. And we in Singapore, we call this integrated design digital delivery, IDD. And that's where we are combining all these. Now, questions have been asked is, what happens if Eugene, you're only brought in halfway? No issues. We'll be able to then get our consultants to go and study where the data, well, if it's all in the cloud, it's great. But if it's not, then how it can be digitized, and then we can take it on from there and move on, whether it's a brownfield or greenfield approach. And especially when it comes to climate change and climate responsive design, we start looking at how we can look at SLEBs, which is super low energy buildings, or net zero energy buildings, and we can start looking. And again, remember I'm talking about the monitoring. We can monitor embodied carbon and operational carbon as well. How powerful that is, and with that we'll be able to then give information to a client for carbon trading, for RECs, with renewable energy certifications, for example, and empowering our client, empowering the city, empowering the mayors to make that decision on how they'll be able to manage the cities more effectively. My last few slides is to show what are the projects that we've done. So whether is it a building, a space, or in this case, it's a retirement village, projects in Singapore. These are the critical infrastructures that we do, building an integrated command and control center that's benchmarked to ISO 11064, smart car parking, for example, smart industrial estates. This is by JTC. We have projects in Thailand, in Indonesia, for example, for in terms of smart living, future readiness on well-connected areas. Amata, for example, for even putting in an element of elderly living, smart energy, and smart municipal and utilities. NEOM as well, and we are looking at the smart city design on for that what's next services. Latest wins that we've got is a precinct, and that's the Grammatics Polytechnic, where the client has requested for 3,000 over sensors and one platform, and they're going to be monitoring all the classrooms and the students, and so that it's really truly going to be an integrated facility. If we can do this for this small little precinct for Grammatics Poly, we are able to then do it as city management as a service for a citywide operations. Right? And most importantly, my last slide is to show that not only just on the technological front, but we need to start looking at sustainability and resilience together, making sure we can give our client the benefit for super low energy buildings or net zero energy buildings, monitor it for them, and if something has gone wrong, for example, a chiller plant we have malfunction, for example, be able to detect it, quickly, swiftly address it, or in future with data, we will be able to do predictive analysis and be able to preempt this and do preemptive maintenance. So that will be my sharing of what's actually happening around the world in terms of smart, sustainable and rich cities, and if I like to say, resilient environment as well. Thank you very much for the invite, and I look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Eugene. That was really, really interesting. It feels like we're moving into living in the future with a lot of those applications. It's really very exciting. I'm sure everybody got a lot out of that presentation. We do have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Let's see. Number one, what are the success factors of the city management as a service in Singapore?
If I would like to, maybe I will try to condition this as what's the success factors, conditions for success. Well, I think most importantly is we need to have, like I said, a platform that we are able to ingest this information, and then we must be able to have a layer that we can collect this information through IoT sensors and then analyze that. But a lot of people forget about having a feedback system for the people, right? We put all the technology sensors out there, but we forget to, ask people, are they happy in that environment? The sensors may say that it's a great environment to be in, but the people may say that it doesn't make sense, because I still feel hot, right? So one thing that we have within our platform is a very robust feedback management system, and every resident is empowered to actually have that, and they give the feedback. Now, then you get a lot of information coming in, and a lot of it may be wasted data. But we have data science, and we use NLP, natural language processing, to churn through this data, and out of 100% or 90% of gibberish data, we turn it to 80% to 90% of usable data, and that's where we are able to enhance our data science and our data analytics. So this is what I will define as our success factors or conditions for success for smart digital cities. Thanks, Amanda.
Very good. What do you see as some futuristic opportunities for smart cities?
Well, I think for smart cities, but we are able to. So what I just showed you is today, right? I'm confident with enough data that we have, with enough social interaction with people, and people start communicating with this platform, we will be able to push this into a city for well-being, number one. Two, we'll be using data to drive design. We'll be using data to drive how we design social spaces and community spaces, and most importantly, I believe, just to answer what IPCC and COP26 is doing, is looking at how we are able to address climate change. And I feel that smart cities, sustainable cities, or resilient cities in the future will really not only improve quality of lives of people, but also improve environment that they are actually staying in. So just give you one example. Imagine I'm able to say, I want to build this city, I'm going to be using, let's say an arbitrary figure of 1,000 tons of steel. This 1,000 tons of steel will be just circulated within the city itself, and without adding more material, because why? This is the commitment of the people are saying, this is the type of material I will have. And so we have this thing called building as material banks. I would just say a city as material banks. It means that this is a commitment of how much we'll burn and use, and this is how the city is going to be operating from now and forever. So I believe that will be the future of these cities. Not too sure when it's going to happen, but I trust it's going to happen within the next couple of decades.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing if your prediction bears out. This has been a really interesting presentation, and we've got a lot of questions coming in, but unfortunately we've run out of time right now. We need to move forward. Is it possible we can send you these questions for you to respond over email, and then we can disseminate the responses? Everybody's really keen to hear more of your thoughts. Is that all right?
Would love to, Amanda. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks everybody. I think next we're going to have to move forward to our next presentation. It gives me a lot of pleasure to introduce Mr. Salvatore Lavallo, the head of foreign direct investment at the Abu Dhabi Investment Office. Salvatore will be presenting on the topic of opportunities in smart city and IT in Abu Dhabi. Salvatore, take it away.
Thanks so much, Amanda, and thank you everybody for attending. We're very excited right now at the celebration of our 50th National Day to be presenting Abu Dhabi, to be promoting it, and to showing all of the new and exciting innovations that are coming from here in the Emirate. I will share my screen and do maybe a quick 10-minute presentation, and then leave time as well for questions. So as Amanda was saying, I'm Salvatore Lavallo. I'm the head of FDI attraction at the Abu Dhabi Investment Office. We like to start all of our presentations with a quotation from our founding father, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. He said, "I dreamt of our land keeping pace with the growth of the modern world." I think this is important because often people think of the UAE and think that our only value proposition, our only resource is our oil. But really it's our dreams, and it's our focus on innovation. And over the past 50 years, we have really proven that again and again, that the UAE is keeping, not only keeping pace with the world, but really kind of setting that pace for innovation. When we think about the way that this innovation ecosystem and these knowledge economies are built, we go from a more macro view into the more micro and more about like lifestyle. So on the macro side, the UAE is the 30th largest economy globally. We're also in terms of soft power 16. So that kind of shows like the outweighed reputational impact that we have on the region and around the world. Within the UAE, Abu Dhabi is the capital. We're also the about 80% of the land and 60% of that overall GDP. We've seen this continually grow over time. It's been one of the most stable economies, one of the fastest growing, and we've also seen an increasing diversification away from oil. Now we're around only 1/3 of the economy is from oil, down from almost the majority only a couple decades ago. When we then look more at the business environment and look at the enabling infrastructure around that, a big point that we like to touch on is how the UAE is really kind of a jumping off point to the rest of the world. We are within an 8-hour flight of 80% of the world, a 5-hour flight of 50% of the world's population, and a 3-hour flight from 1/3 of the world. And I think that it's we've seen a lot of companies that are looking to go, Eastern-based companies that are looking to go west and are using Abu Dhabi as a jumping off point, but also companies that are from the west looking to go east that are using it as that jumping off point. So not only to the broader Middle East, where we obviously play an important role, but around the world, East Africa, South Asia, the Mediterranean, and more. We've also are now the smartest city in MENA in terms of smart city development. We've really been focused on the developing that infrastructure, and we're the first capital in the world that had 100% fiber to home connectivity. Speaking more micro about specific business environments, what I like to say is that what you might know about Abu Dhabi likely isn't wrong, but it's probably old, and that's because we've seen significant amount of changes just in the past year. Even we had our most sweeping judiciary reforms just last week, the largest in the 50 years. So a lot of some of the laws that have been in place have now been changed. Earlier in the year, we allowed 100% foreign ownership across almost all economic activities. We of course still have our 0% income tax. The only tax that we have is 5% VAT, as well as a couple sectors, tourism and oil, are taxed. For the majority of sectors, there's 0 corporate tax, 0 income tax, which enables, of course, companies to take more risk, be able to keep more of that funding. All of these factors have led to us being the #1 place for doing business in the region, 12th globally, and we're continuing to rise. And the government is really focused at looking at what are the barriers to businesses, and how can we really kind of bulldoze those and make sure that we are building a nation that is supporting innovation and supporting entrepreneurs. And then more specifically, especially as we're seeing kind of a global reassessment of work and lifestyle, and we're seeing that the location of where people are working or doing business is not always where they're living. We're seeing more digital nomads, we're seeing more freelancers, we're seeing more remote work. Having Abu Dhabi be the happiest city in the Arab world, to be the safest city in the world for 5 years in a row, but also now the safest city in the world for women, that was announced earlier this month. Overall, it's an incredible place to live. I've been here for 10 years. I hope to stay for many more, and it's a very exciting place to be, and one where you can be like truly optimistic. The island where I am now, where I work, didn't even exist 10 years ago when I was first moved here, and the island where I live as well wasn't developed at all when I moved here. So it's incredible to be able to see that change over time. The way that we build this innovation ecosystem, or we build this focus on innovation, is really through the ecosystem. So making sure that we are bringing together the funding partners. We have significant amounts of sovereign capital and sovereign wealth funds that have different strategic interests. We have Mubadala, the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Abu Dhabi Holding, or ADQ, as well as the Abu Dhabi Exchange, and a handful of different globally leading banks are present here, as well as regional banks that have come out of the UAE. We also have significant innovation programs within Abu Dhabi. So we have our Abu Dhabi Global Market, which is our financial free zone. We have a handful of other free zones, such as 2454, which is our media free zone. We have Kizad and ICAD and Zones Corp, which are our industrial free zones. And all of these areas really focus on what are the kind of support that needs to be given to companies within those sectors. We also then work with universities in terms of research in terms of resourcing, so making sure that the talent is being not only brought into the country, but is being nurtured in the country and is being enabled to stay in the country. When we look specifically at ICT, there is a goal to increase the contribution by 2025 to be 39 billion dirham and to be making up 18,000 high-skilled jobs. We have a few large-scale ICT companies that are already present in Abu Dhabi, but we're really focusing on a few key areas. So this our main focus has been on media, mobility, on e-commerce, on data centers, but really anything that has innovation at its core is the focus for the Emirate. We like to say that a company in the UAE has to be instantly global. We don't pretend that we have the largest market, and we're really excited to have companies that come here, do their research, and develop their technologies, and then globally export it to other parts of the world. We're also interested in connecting technologies that enable sectors that are pre-existing, such as our oil and gas sector. So finding interoperability between the different industry verticals that are existing, and finding ways that the current economy can be segued into the future economy. The Abu Dhabi Investment Office was started about 3 years ago to be the central government hub for attracting private sector investment into the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. We really kind of act as the liaison between the public and the private sector. So we demystify the public sector processes, and we take the feedback from the private sector, and we inform each side through that. We kind of do this through an overall sense of being a catalyzing entity. So we are looking to take companies that have a strategic interest in Abu Dhabi, that are looking to have international expansion, and helping that to grow, happen either in a bigger way or in a faster way or in a higher quality way. We have three main actions. The first is to promote Abu Dhabi as an investment destination. So attending events like this, doing different conferences, making sure that all of these changes that are happening in the Emirate are being communicated well to the market. We also then attract innovation-focused companies to Abu Dhabi through our financial incentive and rebate program, which I'll go through in a second. And then we facilitate the broader innovation ecosystem by working with all the government partners to enable enable the business environment, and see what kind of changes are required in order to make sure that companies are not only attracted to come to Abu Dhabi, but are enabled to grow in Abu Dhabi. One of the key ways that we do this is through our investor care team. They really provide like an end-to-end white glove service that guides companies through the entire process of setting up. It can be really complicated to go to any new geography. We try and make that as easy as possible. We're there on your licensing, on the visas for your staff, on the banking, opening the bank account, finding your site location, seeing who can be, what other government entities you can be connected to that will enable your success in the Emirate. So really finding all of the different ways that we can be there, along for the journey, and just giving this like a full government support, and giving the full weight of the government of Abu Dhabi to companies to enable their success. We also provide financial incentives through a rebate program. So this is on a pay and reclaim basis. So we're not taking equity, we're not diluting the founders, we're not taking IP ownership, we're not trying to take the technology, we're not taking commercial interest, really at all. We're not taking board seats or anything like that. Instead, what we're doing is we're saying that companies that are incurring costs in Abu Dhabi, we are willing to make that money go further. So there are specific cost centers that we can cover depending on the project. It can be high-skilled payroll, high-tech CapEx, it can be utilities, it can be land costs, it can be connectivity costs. And what we can then do is cover a percentage of those, and every quarter the company will show what they have invested into the Emirate, and then we will cover or we would pay back that percentage. As an example, if a company is if we're covering 30% of a company's high-skilled payroll, and in one quarter they're paying $10 million for that payroll, then we will give back $3 million at the end of that quarter. Because we are not getting a direct financial return, instead we have to look at a more holistic view of impact. So we're looking more broadly, not only at number of jobs and the size of the investment, but also the sector disruption, also the the reputational impact, looking at the way that the sector will be enabled through interconnectivity between different companies that are coming in, such as anchor tenants that will be attracting others. We have so far done this. We have so far done this. We have so far presented in. Here, let me reshare. There we go. We have so far supported 9 companies in ICT. We've actually supported about 3 to 4 dozen companies more broadly through different sectors that we're looking at, in agriculture, technology, in financial services, in healthcare, tourism. But within ICT specifically, we've supported 9 companies. Our total support program has added up to close to $1 billion in the past 18 months between our innovation program, which is a 2 billion dirham program, as well as some of our ad hoc support programs for larger scale companies. We have supported Amazon recently. We made this announcement last week to build a fulfillment center in Abu Dhabi. It'll be the Middle East's most tech-enabled fulfillment center. It'll also have impact on significant number of SMEs and training that will be done with them. Alongside Amazon's fulfillment center, we're also supporting Amazon Web Services with setting up 2 data centers in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, a data center region. This will enable more broadly cloud technology uptake, as well as the technology companies that are currently operating on the AWS system will now be able to have localized data. We've also supported Angami, the Middle East leading music streaming provider. They have relocated from Lebanon to Abu Dhabi and will now be listing on NASDAQ via SPAC. Another cloud computing technology out of Korea that we've supported called Bspin. Callsign is an authentication company out of the UK that has set up a significant presence here with the majority of their engineering team. Rizik is a service provider or an online collator of different services that are able to then be done. That has grown out of the UAE. Stars Play similarly is similar to Angami, is a media like a video streaming service that has grown out of the UAE. And then Eureka and Live are both in the logistics space within ICT. And so we're always looking for new companies to support, looking across many different geographies, both from within the region, from Asia, from the States, from Europe, really looking at different types of technologies that we can support and find ways for their projects in Abu Dhabi to be more successful. So I think happy to take some questions now, but also at any point, please do get in touch with us. You can visit our website, Invest in Abu Dhabi, and see some of our materials that we have there. We have sector value or sector guides. We have an Abu Dhabi investor guide. We have a Abu Dhabi prospectus. Lots more information is available there, and also we are always happy to speak with you whenever we can.
Thanks, Salvatore. That was really interesting. We do have some questions for you. Let's see here. How will the recent announcements of large-scale deals with AWS and Amazon impact the broader ICT ecosystem?
Yeah, so we're really excited to have anchor tenants in some of these sectors coming in because we're not only looking at, though audio is focused on larger scale companies and the way that we can support them and their expansion to Abu Dhabi, we're looking at them to be really like catalyzing and enabling players. So for both AWS and Amazon Fulfillment Center, they'll be working with a significant amount of SMEs through different training programs that will enable smaller tech companies to also benefit from having these global giants in the UAE, and kind of then creates, for the Fulfillment Center, creates the Abu Dhabi as a logistics center within the Middle East, and on the data center, and it enables that data localization so that cloud computing innovation can also be coming from Abu Dhabi.
Wow. Okay, we have another question. How can companies be supported with changes in policies and regulations?
Yeah, so at the investment office, we're not a policy making body in and of ourselves, but we do work really closely with all of the different policy makers. So as an example, alongside the Amazon Fulfillment Center announcement, we've been working with the trade facilitation group within the Department of Economic Development to make sure that the e-commerce policies more broadly within the economy are able to support companies that are looking to expand in that space. In the mobility area, we've been working really closely with the Integrated Transport Center on supporting autonomous and electric vehicles. In terms of the data centers, we've been working on data localization policies, cloud first policies with the Supreme Council of National Security. And in every sector, we really work closely as a government entity to make sure that we see not only the financial barriers and provide financial support to companies, but that we see what are policy or regulatory barriers, what entities do we need to get involved, and then we go and we work really closely with those entities to enact those changes.
Fascinating. And how do you measure the impact from those projects when ADIO doesn't take an equity stake?
Yeah, so because we're not having a direct financial return that we're receiving from the companies, we're actually able to look more holistically, more inclusively at what development means. So looking at development as not just an increase in economic indicators, but looking as an increase in quality of life, looking at an increase in societal goals. One thing that we're very focused on right now is education and upskilling. So most of the companies that we are providing support to are also having qualitative KPIs around training and internships and Emiratization and bringing in high-skilled employees into the Emirate. We're also looking at sector development. So as we're trying to diversify away from oil, we're looking at maybe putting like a larger initial investment from the government into sectors in order to boost more broadly that the infrastructure within that sector, so that we can then see it emerging as a key part of the knowledge economy. And so it's really kind of nice to be not only looking for like a specific number, specific ROI, but to be really thinking about what are the government's goals, and how can we enable these the private sector to play a part in achieving those goals, and then provide that government support in order to make that happen.
Okay, we have an interesting question. What are the top challenges or obstacles in reaching those goals?
I think it's we're very ambitious in the UAE, so it might just be time. I did see recently an interview that was done around the 50th with His Highness Mohammed bin Rashid, the ruler of Dubai, and they said, why do you want to be the biggest and the best, and why now? Like, why not the slower over time? And his response was very clear. He said, I want my people to be educated and get good healthcare today. I don't want to have to wait. So I think the challenge is sometimes that our ambition can take, there might be more time that's needed to suffice our ambition. And then also, I think sometimes it's about understanding, we don't want to be making exceptions, we want to be making like changes. So when a company will come to us and see what the barrier might be for that company, we don't want to make exceptions for like individual companies, but instead see how we can make more like sweeping change. And so it might at times slow down the impact of a specific company as we look to impact the sector more broadly and understand the impact of that. And then I guess finally, one challenge might just be again, the misunderstanding of the environment. So we always want people just to come to Emirates to see it. It's always amazing to us how surprised people are when they come here, because I think when it's your own backyard, you're not aware of it, but there are really significant amount of changes. I mean, even yesterday I was having someone saying, oh, but I don't want to give up 51% ownership, and we haven't had that for a while. We also a lot of social rules were just changed in the UAE last week in terms of having people of opposite genders can cohabitate. There's marijuana was decriminalized last week. I mean, different changes in like the social fabric of the country that will kind of really take us more forward into the future and be a place for globalized citizens to really want to call home.
Yeah. Interesting. There's another question here about climate change impact. Let's see. How does the commitment of the countries at the recently concluded COP26 on climate change impact the economies that are reliant on traditional fossil sources of energy, crude oil and coal, for example, with the shift towards the reduction of emissions to net zero by 2050?
Yeah, so that's another part where it's really exciting to not only be focused on like specific financial return, but really looking at societal goals. We were the first country in the world to have a Ministry of Food Security. Her Excellency Mary Malmaheri, she's now was also given the water security policy, and then just a couple of months ago was announced as the Minister of Climate Change and Environment as well. So it's a really high-level strategic goals that we're having. We'll be hosting the next, or the COP28. The next one in the UAE. We're very excited to really kind of put those goals that we've had in front of others. What we've also always said is problems that we're facing are not just the Emirates problems, but are global problems. And so we want the solutions to be found here. A third of the world lives in desert and arid climate areas. And so looking at climate change and specifically food and water security, here it's a nice place to live and do that research, but the kind of the places where the biggest impact we'll be having in terms of number of lives will not be the places that you'll be doing the R&D. And so we're trying to find how can we help as the Emirates to segue between that between the research that can be done here and the implementation that needs to be done more broadly around the world.
Terrific. It certainly is very exciting work that you're doing and the contributions that are being made right now. So thank you very much for joining us. It's been really exciting hearing what Iot has to offer, not just Abu Dhabi and the UAE, but the world really. It looks like there are a lot of really exciting changes coming forward. And so we're quite keen to hear from you again in the future, hopefully. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Salvatore. Next, I'd like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Aisha Al-Baksha, an executive from the Smart Strategy Department of Digital Dubai. Aisha will be presenting on the topic of building in the digital capital of the world. Aisha. Aisha, we can't hear you. Perfect.
Hello, good afternoon from everyone joining us from Singapore, and good morning to everyone joining us from Dubai. This is Aisha Mohammed, Smart City Executive from Digital Dubai. I'll be now sharing my screen in order to present the presentation on building the digital capital of Dubai. So first of all, I would like to thank the UAE Singapore Business Council for inviting Digital Dubai to be part of the UAE Investment Workshop. I will now start by giving a brief overview of Dubai digital transformation journey over the past 2 decades. As you can see from this chart, our digital transformation journey began with the formation of e-government in the year of 2000, where at that time we focused all our effort into digitizing government internal operation and make them more efficient. And as time progressed, Smart Dubai office was formed because we had a primary goal of ensuring that all government services delivered to individuals are delivered digitally. And as time progressed, and as of June 2021, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, UAE Vice President, Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, has launched Digital Dubai in order to assure that all aspects of the city are digitalized, basically digitalizing everyday city experiences across government and private sector. Where basically we shifted the focus from digitalizing government and government services into digitalizing life in Dubai. So in short, Digital Dubai vision is to digitalize life in Dubai. With the formation of Digital Dubai, 4 government entities were merged. 4 government entities were merged, which are Dubai Electronic Security Center, Dubai Statistics Center, Dubai Data, and Dubai Smart Government. As Digital Dubai, we have 7 key pillars. We are focusing on digitalizing in the city, digital government, digital economy, digital infrastructure, digital security, digital skills, and digital data and statistics. So as Digital Dubai, we have 4 key roles, which first start by being an enabler, enabling private sector to innovate and building up a new products and services to the city, being an operator by providing the right infrastructure to the services to the city and private sector also to bring up new products and services to the city, being a regulator by providing the right infrastructure, in order to regulator by providing the policies and right regulation in mind that happens with the innovation and technological development in order to assure that the safety and privacy and anonymity of people of Dubai, and most importantly, government ourselves is to lead innovation. I would like now to give a quick overview of key successes that have happened over the past 20 years. As I mentioned earlier, with the formation of e-government in the year of 2000, one of the first product was built is GRP, Government Resource Planning platform, which today helps over 70 government entities in managing the finances, supply chain, procurement, and human resources for over 71 employees in Dubai government, completely digital. And as per our studies that we've done, over the past 12 years, Dubai government is able to have saved $1.5 billion as a result of the collaborative and efficient digital infrastructure across government entities in Dubai. In 2018, we've launched the Dubai Paperless strategy because we had a mandate to ensure that all government services to individuals are delivered 100% digital. And as of today, we are 5 days away of a conclusion to the conclusion of this strategy, where the Dubai government will be able to save 325 million sheets of paper annually, which equates to 1 billion dirham saving annually, and 313 million hours manpower, and saving 3,000 trees. When digitizing government services, we don't expect people in the city who download multiple, over 100 applications to access different services. This is why we've launched the Dubai Now app, which is the one-stop shop for over 130 plus services from various government and private sector entities. There are many things you can do digitally via the app. For example, you want to renew your visa, you can do it digitally via the app. You want to access your medical record number, you can do it digitally via the app. You want to look at the best schools nearby to you, you can do it digitally via the app. You can also renew your car registration digitally via the app. Moving from serving individual needs digitally, we felt the need of serving businesses digitally as well. This is why in February 2021, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid has launched Invest in Dubai. Invest in Dubai allows you as an aspiring entrepreneur to get your business license in few minutes and 100% digital. You can choose the activity you like, pay the respective fees, and start conducting businesses today, and this process is 100% digital. As of today, we have recorded over 2,000 business activities on the platform. While digitalizing government services, we need to ensure that our citizens and residents have a safe way of accessing digital services, which is why, in partnership with telecommunication digital government, telecommunication and digital government and regulatory authority, and Abu Dhabi digital government, we've launched UAE Pass. UAE Pass is your secure national digital identity, which allows you to access more than 7,000 government, semi-government, and private sector services with a set of one credential. UAE Pass also has a digital signing capability in which, for example, you can send me an email and a contract or an MOU via email, and I can I can sign it digitally via UAE Pass. And this document comes admissible at any UAE court. So when, in addition to building digital application and services, we realized that the future will revolve heavily around data. So in 2016, His Highness have launched Dubai Data Establishment, where we went and defined a holistic data ecosystem. And for us, what defines a holistic data ecosystem is the 4 categories starting with data governance, which are the rules and regulation in which data can be shared in the city, data infrastructure, which are the hard infrastructure that allows data to be shared across government entities in the city, ecosystem engagement, where government and private sectors partner to brainstorm and ideate use cases, and most importantly, which we all look at, is the value creation, where we use the data to generate use cases that has insight and values for both government and private sector entities. Here are a few examples of the data governance model we have. We do have the Dubai Data Law, Dubai Data Policy, Dubai Data Standards, and we are currently working on a private sector data strategy. Dubai Pulse is an example of data infrastructure platform which we have built, which today currently hosts over 800 data sets from various government entities. In addition to hosting city data, Dubai Pulse also plays as the role of a cloud provider that provides various services such as infrastructure as a service, blockchain as a service, data visualization as a service, and much more. And one example on the latest value creation that we've done is the COVID-19 dashboard that we've built in partnership with Dubai COVID-19 Command and Control Center. We've built this dashboard to help us to get data in real time regarding COVID cases in the city, severity of these cases, and the medical equipment necessary needed to cater to these cases. Because we have an interlinked government and private sector healthcare system, we tend to get real-time updates on COVID cases, and to ensure that people needs are met and ensuring the fast recovery of the pandemic that the world have ever seen. Our success is not something that we claim ourselves, but we are ranked first regionally and 16 globally for ease of doing business. We are home to the first Middle East first unicorn. We are ranked 7 in the safest city in the world, home to the MENA largest ICT hub for over 1,600 multinational companies. Dubai is ranked #1 internationally across various international indices due to our effort that was done in the past 20 years in various international indices such as United Nations e-Government Survey, Quality of Living Index by Mercier Consulting, and Global Cities Index by A.T. Kearney, Global Power City Index by the Mori Memorial Foundation. Our goal in Digital Dubai is set by His Highness is to double up the digital economy contribution to our GDP in the next 2 years. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you once again for the UAE Singaporean Business Council for inviting Digital Dubai to be part of this amazing workshop.
Thanks very much, Aisha. That was really interesting. We have a few questions. If you're able to answer some questions for us now, let me go to the Q&A. Okay, here's our first question. Does Digital Dubai welcome and support public-private partnership? Is there a particular department that companies can reach out to for information?
Actually, as per our new mandate, our goal is to digitalize life in Dubai, and we know that we cannot digitalize life in Dubai without the help of the private sector. We know that we've been successfully, that we are successful in digitizing government and government services, but in order to do that, we need to partner with the private sector. Digital Dubai is a very pro-private partnership, pro-public partnership. Like if I can give you an example of that is our GRP product that we've built initially. It was powered by Oracle. In the last couple of years, we've developed AI and blockchain use cases with local startups which just came to Dubai like from 2 to 3 years back. And our flagship platform, Dubai Pulse, was built in public partnership with local telecommunication company do. And the best way to collaborate with the Dubai government is through Dubai Future Accelerator, which is a sister government entity called Dubai Future Foundation, where they help startups to solve the government challenges faced with the use of technology.
Fascinating. Okay, it sounds like there's definitely a lot going on there. We have another question here. What are the challenges that you're facing at Digital Dubai when you're rolling out a new solution to the public? I'm sure there are a lot of challenges. What are some of the highlights?
I think one of the main challenges is the cultural norm, as we are moving toward digitalizing Dubai government by the end of 2021. Cultural norm might be is a challenge because we are several people in the society tends to like a physical proof of things and physical transaction. So for us, in order to digitalize everyday city experiences, everyday transaction, we need to we need to help Dubai, people in Dubai to embrace the 100% digital culture. So what we intend to do is to increase marketing campaigns and awareness in order to make sure that people of Dubai are 100% aware of digitalization and digital.
Fascinating. Okay, we have one more if you have time. Let's see, Dubai Pulse, that you were referencing earlier, allows access to data from Dubai's public sector entities in only one-stop shopping, one spot. How often is that data updated, and what steps are in place to ensure that it's maintained as accurately as possible?
Yeah. Actually, updating data on the Dubai Pulse comes with an agreement with the government entity that would host their data into the platform. As per that agreement, data gets updated, and it gets updated on the nature of the data set. Some sort of data sets need to be updated daily. For example, the traffic data, we need it in real time. So they need to update it in real time as per the agreement. Information regarding bus stations, these information don't change more frequently. So it doesn't matter, for example, if they update on a monthly basis, yearly basis, depending on the nature of data set. And also we have an internal dashboard that monitors the update status regarding data. And from the dashboard, we generate a compliance report in order to determine the update of each data set in the Pulse.
Terrific. Terrific. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today and sharing this information about Dubai Digital with us at our webinar. We will be sure to send any additional questions your way because I know everybody's really keen to hear more about the initiatives that you're undertaking. So thank you very much, Ms. Aisha Al-Bakshi, for sharing with us today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, dear.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the panel segment of the webinar. We will feature established Singapore companies in the Smart City and IT sector. If you have any question for us during this time, please add it to the Q&A window to submit your questions, preferably not the chat window, the Q&A window. That will enable us to display the questions for everybody to see. And I would like now to introduce the panelists for the Q&A discussion. Ms. Excel Chua, the Enterprise Sales Director at Yoohoo. Mr. Leon Lim, CEO and founder of GroundUp.ai. Mr. Abhijit Shanbang, President and CEO of Grammatics. And Mr. Tang Kim Lung, Managing Director of KDI Asia. And you can check in the program booklet in the chat window to browse through all the profiles of our panelists and our moderator. So I'd like to introduce right now, with great pleasure, to hand over the proceedings to the moderator of the panel discussion, Mr. P. Ramakrishna, CEO of the CIO Academy and a fellow member of the UAE Singapore Business Council. Rama, hello.
Hi, hello. Thanks, Amanda.
Take it away.
I'm really excited to be moderating this session. So my name is Rama. I'm the CEO of CIO Academy Asia, a tech thought leadership and capability development company based in Singapore. So today, the topic is going to be about opportunities in smart city and IT, right? I have to thank the UAE Embassy in Singapore, as well as the UAE Singapore Business Council for inviting me to moderate this very exciting panel discussion. So with me today are four accomplished panelists with different tech expertise backgrounds representing companies based in Singapore. So each of them will be introducing themselves as well as the company. And after each introduction, we'll be asking them questions. And at the end of it, we'll have a panel discussion, and we'll also take questions from the audience. So let me just start off by saying something. I'd like to give you a quote from a Swiss futurist. This quote is very interesting because I think it fits in very well with what's happening in smart cities. He says, humanity will see more changes in the next 200 years compared, in the next 20 years compared to the last 200 years. So just think about that, you know. So brace yourself. In the next 20 years, you are going to experience accelerated changes, you know. Human civilizations is going to see fantastic pace of change compared to the last 200 years. And a lot of it has to do with what's going to happen in smart cities. By 2050, 2/3 of the world's population will live in cities. And urbanization is happening faster than any time in human history, right? So keep that in mind as we hear the various presentations of the technologies that are going to make this possible, this accelerated pace of change. So without further ado, let me introduce Axel Chua from Yoohoo. She is the Enterprise Sales Director, and her company has expertise in indoor air sensors to detect air quality. So Axel, over to you.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Rama and Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here in the panel. Good afternoon to everyone in Singapore, or good morning to everyone who's based in UAE. Let me just share my screen shortly. Okay, so my company, Yoohoo, in Chinese, it means excellent breeding. We are in the business of helping you understand and see the air quality that you breathe, either in your home or in your offices or in the factory that you're working in. We're a Singapore headquartered brand, but we've got offices now in Singapore, Hong Kong, Philippines, Netherlands, and US. The product is now available in 40 countries. So poor indoor air, world's largest environmental hazard. Not knowing what you breathe makes you sick. Poor air enhances the survival and spread of the virus. So at Yoohoo, since we spend 90% of our time living indoors in an indoor enclosed environment, our mission is to offer you a most comprehensive environmental management platform. So we are the manufacturer of our own hardware device. We also provide our own solutions from scratch, software solutions. These are firmware, AI algorithm, APIs, and we also provide users some user interface, like a web dashboard or mobile application for them to easily monitor the indoor air quality that they are breathing in 24/7. So Yoohoo monitors your environment so you know exactly how to improve it. So the premise here is that you can only manage what you can measure, and Yoohoo will be able to provide you these data. So our data will be real time. We provide you the data by the minute, and we give you historical data, analysis, alert, tips, and integration. Integration means Like, let's say if YooHoo is detecting that your temperature or CO2 is not in a healthy zone, then our systems will be able to integrate with a, let's say, a building management system in order to automate or solve the air quality issues in your premises. For this latest product that we've launched, it's called the Aura. And inside this device, we have 13 parameters or sensors that we can detect. So you can see it's temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, chemicals, all the way up to air pressure, light, and sound. And across our dashboard, you'll be able to we'll be able to kind of explain to you in a very layman's term why each and every parameter is important for you, or why it matters from a human perspective, from a human health perspective. So another unique feature about YooHoo would be our virus index. It's the world's first patented to us, only real-time assessment of the coronavirus risk. So this particular virus index is in relation to COVID-19. We're not saying that we can detect or we can tell you that there's COVID-19 in your premises, but through our indoor air quality sensors, we'll be able to let you know if there's a high chance or low chance for COVID-19 to survive in the air and be transmitted in the air through certain environmental conditions. Our medical practitioners in the R&D team, they put together a 20-page white paper report on this. If there's an interest, you can always pull it up from our website. It will be available there for you to download. So lastly, this is how YooHoo is positioned in the market. We're guaranteed the best environment monitoring of any building facility in the region. We keep occupants assured of their safety or health and productivity. We protect rent revenue from a landlord's perspective. We support well reporting and certification, specifically for those companies who'd like to green certify or recertify their green buildings. And we're proven by clients to audit, alert, and reduce energy issues. These are just some of the brands locally, regionally, and globally who have trusted YooHoo as a brand. So we've been around since 2014, though we're a Singapore headquartered brand. I'd say a lot of our clients, when we were first starting, a lot of them are in the developed markets like US, Canada, Japan, Australia. These are some of the developed markets that are more conscious about the air quality that they breathe and also more conscious about sustainability certifications, getting their buildings green and all that. In Singapore, we have Ministry of Manpower as one of our clients. GIC is one of our biggest clients also, Changi Airport, Singapore Airlines. We have a good mixture of healthcare, university, government, both landlords as well as tenants, as well as your property management companies like JLL, CBRE. And that's the end of my 5-minute presentation. And that's my contact information should there be any questions that you've got later on after this panel.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Axel. Certainly very interesting because your solution fits in very well with what some of the earlier presenters, when they were talking about smart city, we hear all the buzzwords, you know, sustainability, going green, and of course, resilience, right? So my question to you is that you have so far mentioned that YooHoo provides air quality monitoring systems, but do you also offer solutions to fix the ones detected? Are there solutions for poor air quality?
So basically, YooHoo, we are positioned as a monitoring management system. So we monitor the air quality. However, we don't provide you solutions. But the best that we can do is provide you suggestions so you can manually fix the issue. Let's say if the CO2 or carbon dioxide level is in the unhealthy zone, then we'll give you suggestions like you may potentially open the window to bring in fresh air from outside or regulate your HVAC system. When it comes to automating the solutions, what we could offer normally our clients is for them to integrate our data into a control system. Like, let's say a control system can be a building management system that controls your aircon, that controls, let's say if YooHoo is detecting that the dust level is very high and not good, then your BMS can turn on, let's say, your air purifier, turn it on for it to fix or disinfect the premises.
Okay. Thank you very much, Axel. We'll come back to you later during the panel discussion. So I'll move on next to Leon Lim, who is the CEO and founder of GroundUp AI. It's an AI company that's using sound sensors, interesting, sound sensors to detect anomalies in machines. So Leon, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rama. Can you all hear me clearly?
I've been promoted to doctor now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Definitely sound like one. Okay, can
Go
I dive
ahead.
into it?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leon. I'm from Singapore, and I run GroundUp.ai. Yeah, so GroundUp AI is essentially a predictive maintenance company. We utilize AI and IoT sensors. We hook it up to several machineries, and we get signals 24/7 in real time. And we use AI to predict whether the machine will spoil. So the benefits of doing that includes reducing the human manual labor, including trying to send people down to the ground every time there's a problem. So we believe that let machines monitor the machines and let humans enjoy the time. So that's how we started out that's the whole mandate of GroundUp.ai. So in this presentation, I'll be sharing a little bit about how our technology works, several use cases, why clients at this stage, we just launched for 1 year and they are rushing to implement our solution in bulk as well. So we have clients all the way from a HVAC company. We've got property companies like Guocoland, all the way to companies that own really large machineries like maritime, like the Singapore Navy, in fact. Yeah, so these companies all want to hook up our sensors, all want to have some data at the back, right? But it's not just technology for the sake of technology. Along my presentation, I'll explain to you how you can derive real ROI also, so you can justify the investment and not buy tech for the sake of looking cool. Okay. So this is a huge problem, which is unplanned downtime. All machinery, regardless whether it's your aircon unit, your refrigerator, all the way to your turbocharger and a ship, all will break down, right? Machines do have health as well. So this is a massive problem. It's an $864 billion global problem, right? Not only does it waste time and money for companies, it damages the environment because companies do not know when to maintain. They just do regular maintenance and they throw out parts that could be actually recycled or not even needed to maintain in the first place. And of course, there's always a risk. Can you imagine if you are drilling tunnels underground for the metros, and then you have to keep going down to maintain your machinery? It's really dangerous. So the aim is to remove any form of human labor, make human elevate and go to the next level of Maslow hierarchy of needs by trying to automate this whole process using technology. So the main cause of this is two things. Firstly, either machines lack of data in real time. So there's nothing much to analyze, right? Because there's no data that's pushing from the machines themselves. Or even if some companies try to embark on, like some of our clients, the data usually is very sparse, it's very messy, very analog. Right? So it gives them a headache. They kind of know, like, I want to do something that's predictive, but I don't know where to start. Okay, so what if today you can consolidate data into one simple platform and not only monitor, but have actionable insights? So how you can prevent it from happening again, how you can predict your machines from spoiling again. And what if you could reduce unplanned downtime by up to 50% and reduce MTBS, reduce your mean time between failures. So we all want to live in a world whereby nothing spoils, right? So this is the solution that we have invented. So GroundUp.ai is the world's first end-to-end sound-first AI-based predictive maintenance operating system. We've created this SaaS solution. We think of it like an Apple Watch, right? Apple Watch gives signals for humans' health, right? So our sensors give health signals for the machines itself, right? So not only you can have real-time equipment diagnosis, we can even detect certain anomalies that happen along the way. You can predict when the machine spoils. And the best part is, like human health, you want to understand the root cause of why your machine spoils, not just when it spoils, but I want to solve the problem at its root itself so you can stop it from happening again. Right? The best part about this, every time I do my presentation, the clients, their eyes light up when I say there's 2 to 5x ROI. So they know that they're really buying something that can give them a return on their investment. The simple use of a dashboard over here, right? So I want to zoom into this green color box that I've highlighted. So we not only can we surface the very technical stuff, but the management can also use this as a form of predicting their ROI that happens by implementing the solution, right? So this machine performance gives them $5,000 in revenue. So there's a correlation to it. Here we also detect several anomalies. Here's a sound. I'll show you a look at sensors which we have invented from scratch as well. And over here, you can see we can even tell that the machine is degrading at what speed also. So we use all different forms of sensors, regardless whether it's the OEM sensors that come with the machine, or whether it's our sensors that we integrate together with the existing data. We form it together, can think of it as a special brain that's for your organization. Okay, so what makes us different from other predictive maintenance company out there? After trying different sensors through our experience over the past 7 to 8 years in the AI industry, we have studied different thermal, voltage, vibration, whatsoever sensors out there. We decided that sound is really something that you can dive really deep. Okay, 3 reasons. First one is because sound is a leading indicator. You want to predict when your machine spoils, right? Not have something that only after you spoil, then you can detect and then you fix, right? So it's best you can prevent cancer from happening rather than you have cancer and you try to solve it. Secondly, sound is very flexible, right? So we tried computer vision. It's great for certain use cases, but you can't do much monitoring, especially for predictive maintenance, if you have to always angle it at a certain angle. For open spaces, definitely, but if your machine is in a very intricate place, you want something that you can just deploy, and 360, you can pick up all the signals that you have. And thirdly, clients love that it's very scalable, which means across the different parts, regardless whether it's your aircon system, refrigerator, your propellers, engine motors, you can use the same sensor across different machinery. So we use a traditional approach of analyzing sound. So some people will ask, the big boys like Schneider, do they do it? They do, but do they use 3-dimensional? They don't, right? So we dive deep into the 3 different ways of analyzing sound, right? So this is our sound sensor. It's a proprietary, it's pump size, it's the size of an Apple phone, slightly a bit smaller. It's just simply you can hook it up, each sensor takes less than 2 minutes to literally just put it there. Turn on the button and then you can get signals, right? So it's as easy almost as wearing your Apple Watch. Right, so imagine today, okay, our clients, we have hooked up all the sensors, we are collecting millions of data points around the world, 24/7, right? Eventually we'll just form this world's most comprehensive sound area database, right? So this is a term that our investors love, right? The reason is because we have collected all these data, and from an AI practitioner perspective, the more data that you have, the more focus and the more variety as well, right? The better it is for you to study new machines that are coming up. So end up we deploy our solutions 5 times faster than the other solutions that are already existing in the market. Okay, so 3 things that makes us competitive. Firstly, I call it flexible deployment. One of our clients like to joke that we are willing to bend our backs over, right? So we build in different forms of API. We work with legacy systems, right? We are trying to do integration with Windows 3.1, right? Because some of the systems are really just too old. But ground-up AI, we find a way how to work together with existing systems, so you don't have to reinvest if you don't want to reinvest. Secondly, sound analysis. Combined together with our up-and-coming patent, which has industrial noise cancellation, enables clients to figure out the root cause analysis of the machine. So you can tell how old your machines are, how long your machine is going to last also, and the most common problems that's going to happen for a machine. And thirdly, of course, we have invested quite a bit, right, to deliver ultra simple UX, so it doesn't scare off your operators, right? In fact, it encourages them to keep using the software on a daily basis, so you can just eliminate all this manual labor anymore. So core team, once again, I'm Leon, right? I'm from, I've done tech businesses since my uni days. I've achieved 2 exits along the way. My co-founder and I, right, the Batman and Robin combi, right? One of us studies engineering, one of us studies computing and business, right? So we come together, we've done several AI companies together, and this is the one that we feel that it's really game-changing because it's industrial, right? It's the bedrock of all the economy as well. Okay, some of our key investors, we have raised our first round of funding. We are looking to raise our Series A also. Also, some of the backers include former managing directors from GIC, with a couple of PhD professors on board as well. Yeah. So this is a quote that I like to share with our clients, right? The best time to start was yesterday. The next best time to start is today. So who here wants to start saving millions of dollars in maintenance costs? Please contact me. My name is Leon, and my email is over there. Thank you for your time, and back to Dr. Rama.
Okay, yes, Rama will do. Thanks,
okay,
thanks, Leon. Quite a unique solution that you have, because we don't hear of many solutions using sound sensors, right? I do believe that you play the horn in the Chinese orchestra. Is that one of the things that you do today? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I play in the symphony orchestra.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so essentially, okay. I'm fusing my interest in music with our expertise and background in AI to form this, I would say, pretty unique solution. Yeah, right.
Okay, so you must be really very passionate about sound. So my question to you is this: how resilient are your sound sensors? Okay, so we talk about mean time before failures, But if you were to apply it to your sound sensors, how resilient are they?
Yeah, I would say they are, I think physical one is a very real concern, right? So our clients include construction industry, they put it on their tower cranes, their excavators, right? So it's meant to take a beating, I would say, but of course we don't, intentionally try to throw it on the ground, try to destroy it, right? But to rain and sun is totally okay. In fact, our latest version is also solar powered, so it can last even longer. Yeah, and then we have built in several indicators. So it's like a sensor of a sensor, whereby our sensor is able to tell when our own sensor, whether it's enough battery, the health of the sensor as well. Yeah, so we literally eat our own dog food, practice what we say. We put in sensors to monitor our own sensor. So the human, can have their job upgraded. They don't have to go around, checking each and individual sensor as well.
Okay, thank you, Leon. I'll come back to you later during the panel discussion, right? So we'll move on next to another AI company. We have Abhijit Shanbhag, who is the president and CEO of Grammatics, okay, a company that's dealing with multimedia processing and using digital video analysis with install-based CCTVs. I'm quite sure Abhijit will have more to share about his company and the capability. So Abhijit, over to you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Rama, and good afternoon. Good morning to everyone out there. Wishing a very happy Golden Jubilee to all our friends within the United Arab Emirates. I'm very happy, very glad to be here. My name again is Abhijit Shanbhag, and I'm the CEO of Gramatix. Okay, so while Smart Cities is all about harnessing data from sensors, programs, and leveraging smart technologies to exploit this data, our outlook at Gramatix is to focus on this goldmine of data from the installed CCTVs inside the cities. Okay, CCTVs are the sites of the cities, and therefore we refer to our platform as Sighting Insights. So now why CCTVs? There are over 1 billion installed surveillance cameras that are watching the world in 2021. In fact, it is estimated that close to 1 billion additional CCTVs will be installed in 2022. So massive number of video sensors, CCTV cameras. So Gramatix, a quick introduction to Gramatix. We are a Singapore headquartered company with Silicon Valley roots, and we are now the emerging global industry leader in providing a very broad array of video artificial intelligence solutions, enabling different kinds of digital transformation with installed CCTVs for both cities and for enterprises for various applications ranging from security, productivity, and different kinds of operations. So now the key components of a smart city will include sustainability, livability, security, productivity, right? And within each of these segments, it finally leads to various different subcomponents where video AI plays a very important role, right? From smart homes, water management, energy management, security, traffic monitoring, and so on. So these are two case studies of the deployments with Gramatix Sighting Insights solutions. So on the left is close to Singapore's Changi Airport, and on the right is probably a little more populated place in Hanoi in Vietnam. And here the platform is being used, again, using the installed CCTVs to classify vehicles, obtain their speeds, identify if the lanes, the traffic within the lanes are moving smoothly, or if there is any kind of bottleneck. Identify if there is a likelihood of a congestion happening. Like for instance, in Hanoi, when a congestion happens, then many of the two-wheelers, they tend to move in wrong directions, they'll violate red lights. So it's important to try and predict congestion happening from the installed CCTVs as early as possible. Right now, we are in the inter-COVID-19 phase. I'm not very optimistic of being in the post-COVID-19 phase. We are evolving to be a COVID resilient society that we will need to live with COVID moving forward. So many of the trends that we've seen really plays very well into the video AI space. Currently, many of the enterprises are working from home. So enterprises are moving towards being unmanned. And if they are moving to being unmanned, they have their installed CCTVs and such. Those can then be used to detect different kinds of anomalies and such within the workplace. We are seeing reverse urbanization happening during the COVID phase, right? And that causes a lot of the staff shortage within cities for handling many of the municipal operations. So this is leading to much more of automation happening, and that again plays very well into our space. There are a lot of collaborations between previously disconnected government agencies that we've seen during this COVID phase, where all the government agencies are working together to try and solve this common enemy. And that again, sharing of data through the collaboration works out very well for an AI platform like ours. If data is kept in silos, it works much more poorly for an AI system. With sharing of data, it works out very well. And then there is the adherence to the different COVID-19 safety mandates using the installed CCTVs as much as possible. And actually, we are working with some of the top government agencies within Singapore for different COVID clusters to enhance community safety, identify if there is a likelihood of any kind of social distance violation and such. So now the platform is being used. So we are seeing the acceleration of adoption of video AI with the existing CCTV infrastructure. And it's going in to make cities more safe, more efficient, more sustainable in various different ways. And in fact, we'll be very happy to discuss with anyone within the audience on each of these, either during the discussion or on another day. So the video AI solution, as indicated, it's being used for to detect any kind of the different COVID safety mandates. We are also now actively coming into the UAE market. We are actually very active in different parts of the globe, in the Americas, North America, South America, now getting into Africa, very active now in the Middle East, definitely across Asia Pacific. Now we are actively getting into the United Arab Emirates, and we would love continue to look for much stronger collaboration. So we are working with the visionaries within ADNOC, the visionaries within Abu Dhabi Airport, to bring in a lot of our smart technology to better utilize the installed CCTVs for different operational and security activities within the UAE. Okay, and that's the end of my 5-minute presentation. We'll be very happy to have discussions. Unfortunately, I did not include my email ID, but it's very easy to obtain, and I'm sure the UAESBC Council can help link you with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhijit. Certainly very interesting, your capability from Grammatics. As they say, data is really the lifeblood of smart cities, right? And data can come in different forms. In this case, you're talking about video images. So the question I have for you is, obviously you may have been asked this question on many occasions. Most organizations as well as cities have already invested in CCTVs. And the CCTVs could have been invested over a long period of time with different models. Your solution says that you tap on the feed from installed CCTVs. So the question is, will there be further investments to further investments for new CCTVs, or you can just continue to use existing CCTVs, different models that have already been invested?
Yeah, no, thank you, Ram. And in fact, this really hits the nail right into the head. Our strong message is you have already made the investment in laying out your CCTV infrastructure. Utilize that, utilize the same one. You don't need to reinvest. So we've really optimized our AI platform so as to be able to work with very low quality CCTVs, which can have various different kinds of distortions and such. So we've been able to obtain a lot of the data so as to be able to build an extremely robust AI solution, which can really work with CCTVs, which might have been installed 15 years back.
Right. Yeah. So I'm quite sure you have spent a lot of time improving your AI algorithm to be able to tap on all these different types of feeds and then come up with smart ways to overcome the problem. So I'll come back to you, Abhijit, later in the discussion. Thank you very much. We'll move on next to Kim Ling, who's the Managing Director for KDI Asia, which is a professional services company specializing in transformation and innovation practices. When we talk about the PPT, right? People, Process and Technology Framework. So Kim Ling, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Rama. I have 5 minutes and I'm going to do it quite quickly as the last speaker. So thank you for having me for this panel. Now I have a short introduction, just allow me to share my screen. Okay, are we able to see the screen?
Yes, great.
Thank you very much, thank you. All right, just a quick sharing of what KDI does as a company. We are basically a professional services firm that specializes in change and innovation practices. In short, is about transformation. Yeah, so we established ourselves more than close to 20 years ago, I must say, working with various government bodies at the national level and sometimes regional levels, as well as companies like in the banking industries and financial services industry. There are also different types of consulting work and capacity building work that we collaborate with our clients, mainly to help them to rationalize and also to streamline the processes. And also, more importantly, is the data and the information. And the use of technology is to really enable the various people, processes, and information flow in the organization so that they can transform and to become much more innovative, much more responsive to their clients and offering service deliveries that are, much more effective. Okay, so let me just move on. Yeah, we have done a lot of work in Asia. That's obvious because we are based in Singapore. In more recent years, we did a lot more work in Vietnam and Africa, right? And also some work in Middle East. Last 4 years, we were very involved in this location called Fiji. I think many of you would be interested to, travel to Fiji, but for holidays, obviously. But we were engaged together with Singapore government to help them to look at the national level transformation. And also the last 5-6 years, we are also in southern part of Africa, working with the Namibia government to help them to improve the ease of doing business. Okay, so that's just a quick one. So overall, what we do essentially is to provide capacity building to transfer knowledge. So we have a team of people very specialized in training, capacity building, coaching, so that the organizations that we work with could sustain whatever consulting solutions or even transformation work that we are, that we have done with them. So for the consulting part, we usually look at some of the needs and challenges, the problems that organizations face, and typically these are, due to a lot of silo functions and data, and processes in the organization that could not, over time, improve the work of the organization. So we are usually brought in to look at these various aspects, and obviously introducing, some technology. We do not advocate very high tech, in the initial phase of the implementation, but to build up the foundation, to sort out the data silos, especially, and then, build up a talent pool to help to manage all this technology-enabled transformation. The last part of it is to really work with the client to co-create the desired outcome over a longer term through the establishment of program management office, training, coaching, and hand-holding processes. And this thing could take 2 years to 4 years to completely, achieve what we set out to do. Now, a lot of clients come to us and look at, the overall concept of managing their cities, their town, their service delivery. And we found that for smart city to really work, right, you really have to go digital. And we have created this thing called the Digital City Services Framework, and we work with a number of clients, because if you look at these circular or concentric circles of services, really at the center is the core set of data. And if you do not organize your data, harmonize your data, share your data, a lot of services will not be enabled well, and you create a lot of duplication, and worse still, you may interpret the information or data wrongly. And we help our client organize the data into the residents, or sometimes we call it people data, property and land data, and also business or enterprise data, right? So this applies to every organization or government in this case that will require to provide many services to the citizens, to the businesses, and by organizing them well, you can create what we call a smart government. Now, smart city has to start with a smart government, right? Because with a smart government, you find that many of the policies and the processes and the services will improve and become very responsive. For example, with one single sign-on, right, citizen or businesses can get into thousands of electronic services that the government provides. And with electronic payment, with easy access, easy notification, feedback collection, and all that, you are able to create what we call a connected government that interact with the constituents or the stakeholders in a very easy and comfortable way, and that promotes the whole idea of a straight through citizen services or business services. Now this concept has been adopted by Singapore many years ago, and we have enjoyed the benefit in terms of using a single sign-on to access to many services. Payment are made very simple today with all kinds of payment, what we call services. You could actually easily, carry out all this payment. And of course, more importantly, it is very easy to apply for licenses, permit. It's very easy to interact, with the citizen or the businesses to various portals that we have. And of course, in terms of coordinating various events and so on, it all can be done quite easily today. So this is a concept, and when we layer this around, or the more specific services from various needs, like for example, in the digital services, city services, we have transportation, mobility, management. A lot of this information are operational, are real-time in nature, right? So if you can match the real-time data with administrative data, you could easily, provide some kind of detection, classification, and the intelligence behind that to prompt actions, minimally to alert people for actions, right? And then you have other areas like building and property management, sports and leisure management. So all these are the various features or domain, we call that, in the various part of the country or the cities that will require to be managed and well coordinated. So at the end, what do we have? We have a not just a smart city, but a very sustainable city, and we are able to control as well as trigger actions that things happen, right? So this is really what we have been pursuing and helping our client to implement. Now, what would be the elements to make a city smart? Really, we are looking at information that provide, the right kind of data, at the right time, and sharing of information, which is also a very important feature. And we're also looking at intelligence, right? The intelligence is really about sensing, classifying, identifying, and then followed by analysis and decision support, and eventually trigger actions. And more importantly is learning as well, right? To be able to learn from what we have seen from the data, and analysis. And finally, the integration piece of that. Without integration, the organizations, or even at the national level, we find many departments or ministry are operating in silos, right? So through governance and planning, what kind of planning? Through urban planning, economic planning, social planning, digital planning. All this planning and governance need to work together so that the integration could happen, right? So essentially, this is, the overall concepts that we have been introducing to our client. And if you would like more example, I believe I will need more time in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kim Ling. Yeah, very comprehensive, your coverage. Just one very quick question for you, Kim Ling. As we all know, with your experience with other countries beyond Singapore, I mean, Singapore is a good model for smart city, and in fact, now we have also called it smart nation. So, and I'm quite sure you've heard other terms being used as well. Can you give us a very quick, response to this? Any difference between a smart city and a smart nation?
Well, I think smart city is what we are talking about, making the city a lot more sustainable, a lot more efficient, and so on, right? But what is a smart nation? I think the smart nation is not just a collection of smart cities. Many people come to me and say, how can we make our nation smart? Is it a collection of smart city? I say, well, there will be some cities that will pursue smart city initiative. I think a smart nation is a nation that learns and apply what they have learned from one smart city in experience to another. So a real good smart nation is really about a learning nation that can apply what they have learned from other initiatives, throughout the country, so that they do not, waste their so-called resources in reinventing the wheel. So the whole nation will progress much faster, if we have a smart nation kind of principles, to work around basically just pursuing a single smart city kind of objective.
Right.
Yeah, that's my short answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim Ling. This whole learning dimension, I think, fits in very well with my next question, which I'm going to, get all the panelists, to jump in and give me their responses to this question. So we all know that the Smart City Index covers a whole plethora of criteria. They talk about green spaces, even children's access to education, medical services, public transport, affordable housing, reduced traffic congestion, culture, job opportunities, safety, and even transparent governance, right? So there's a whole long list of criteria that's being used in the index when, they are going to rate the maturity, in terms of how well smart cities can perform. So with this as a background, maybe I'll ask each of you or each of the panelists, based on the solutions that you have to offer, how do you think your solution fits in well with the various criteria, or maybe some of the criteria that I've just shared with respect to smart city? So let's start off with, Excel. Excel, over to you. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Rama. I guess for you, since we operate in a built environment, I'd say it's in the green spaces. And I think it would also be in the education or children's education. I guess for the green spaces, it's a pretty straightforward answer, since we are in this, as a core competency, that's our business, that's what we do. But for education bit, I think that's very, very important. For us to embrace the idea of really becoming a green or smart city. It's not because we're doing it because we're being compliant with the government. We're more like we're doing it because we really genuinely care about our health. We genuinely care about the environment. So that's when a real education comes in, that you're doing something, not because it's you learn it from, or it's because it's a government policy, but more like you're doing it because you know it's good for the environment. So that's when the education comes in, I thought.
So Excel, I'll also be bringing in some of the questions from the audience. I think there are quite a number of questions. So this question is meant for you, Excel, in Yoo-Hoo. There are also other quality sensors out there in the market, right? So the question is, what makes Yoo-Hoo so different, right, and unique against your competition?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We get that question a lot. So why can't we just go to Taobao and purchase $30 worth of sensor, right? Why do we go to you when you're like multiple times more expensive? I don't have a very quick answer, so if you just allow me. So basically, you, from a very technical perspective, our sensor or our device, we have about 13 to 15 parameters in one device. So that's very comprehensive. So we have the most comprehensive number of sensors in one device. That's no other competitor in the world that has that. Secondly, I'd say our proprietary, which is proprietary to us, the indices. So we have the virus index, the productivity index, the comfortability index, the mold index that is not available in other sensors. The next one would be, I'd say, if they're in Singapore, well, Yoo-Hoo is the only indoor air quality sensor that's certified by the Singapore Green Building Council, which is linked to BCA. Right. And also a lot of our clients who trust our products, they think that we have a very good look and feel for our dashboard in terms of features. So we have, they think we have the most comprehensive features from alert management, building management. We can give you 2D, 3D views of the floor plan, so you can see what kind of air quality you have in this building. In terms of floor by floor or building by building, we had we have a heat map view. Mm-hmm. And also lastly, I would say perhaps it's also, we have over 600 enterprise clients who trust us. And these are not just enterprise clients, these are government clients that are not in Singapore only. Let's say, for example, in the US, we have the Department of Transportation as a client. We have the Belgian police, the Swiss government, the Dutch government, the Netherlands government, then the Port of Rotterdam, amongst others.
Okay, thanks, Excel. It seems like your track record speaks for itself. So I'll come back to you again, and I'm quite sure you like to delight your customers as well. Yahoo! You know, right? Which fits in well with your brand name. Okay, Leon, over to you. My earlier question, you know, where do you fit in with respect to your the Smart City Index, which I talked about, and but more importantly, after talking about where you fit in, I'd like to hear about some of the challenges also that you've had, you know, with some of your clients with respect to your solutions. So over to you, Leon.
Okay, thank you, Rama.
Yeah.
So I would like to start from maybe the big picture, and then we scale it down to where we actually fit on different dimensions, right? Okay. Yeah, I will very quick summarize. Okay. Yeah. So I think the first one would be we make living more affordable for sure. Mm-hmm. I think that's the whole mandate of every country, make citizens living more affordable. So our business essentially helps with two things. We reduce maintenance costs, we reduce operational costs. Yeah, so people like to lump it together, but our aim is to break it down and really see where we can optimize and really go back to the first principles and see whether do we even need humans there in the first place, right? Can humans be doing higher level jobs, or must they be operating like at the very ground level? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so by putting in sensors, by helping humans to not do the groundwork itself, reduces a lot of unnecessary costs as well, right? Unnecessary repair costs, unnecessary maintenance costs, unnecessary costs of materials in the process. Yeah, so we have many testimonials, not just from a building perspective. I think very straightforward from a, let's say from a HVAC perspective itself. By implementing this, your system, you don't have to keep maintaining every single month. Yeah, so we have clients, you know, really revamping their whole policy in terms of maintenance, all the way till, you know, even the water system in Singapore as well, right? Having more redundancies, making sure the water system can go smoothly into every house. right? So it doesn't break down. There's always water. I think that one's very crucial as well. It contributes to a smart city on the big picture, right? And then we move down to the ground level, which is what I mentioned as well. Creates different job opportunities, right? So there's two sides of the argument. One group of the citizens will say that you take away jobs, right? Literally, because your sensors stop jobs, right? But again, our argument to them is it's like the banking industry that's evolved over the years. You don't really need tellers anymore. You use smart ATMs. It's the same thing, right? It doesn't take away jobs. It takes away unnecessary jobs, right? And it forces human actually to re-innovate also, right? So one of our clients repurpose their staff rather than going out to do manual labor, teaches them how to read dashboards, how to key information, how to use sensors, how to use our software to do simple analysis. But I think it's more sustainable in the long run because we always talk about sustainable living, right? Not just doing the very manual labor. So, yeah, so I think that answers where we fit into the ecosystem.
Very good, Leon. In fact, you have also answered one of the questions from the audience. They're asking about use cases, and how your solutions can be deployed. I think you did mention, but do you want to be a little bit more specific, maybe outside of Singapore, in other countries, any particular use case that you think is worth sharing? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think interestingly, because we are machine agnostic, that's we build it from scratch to be able to, I would say that we can apply in anywhere that has sound, right? Which is, we can't do vacuum, so NASA won't be our customer for now because we can't do predictive maintenance in space, right? It always needs a medium of travel that we can detect signals, right? So one of the very extreme cases for predictive maintenance will be the mining industry in Australia, right? Really huge machines, right? The excavators are like 10 times the size of the regular ones we see, right? Really dangerous machine. So it really is a pain, right? If you have a family member working in the mining industry and your dad has to go down to the ground every single day to work on the machine just to maintain it, just to have a look at it, it's pretty dangerous, right? So by putting in the sensors there, not just ROI, right? But at the side, I think the safety is always something that we have to look at, right? Like, don't go down unless it's really necessary to. Yeah, so the mining industry is kind of old school, and not just oil mining, right? Like literally mine minerals from the ground. Yeah, so one of the industries that is rapidly calling us from the different sides of the world, it's the mining industry. Because the bigger the machines in their perspective, the more they don't want to involve any human to prevent accidents from happening.
Okay, good, very good example. Excellent, Leon. Move on to Dr. Abhijit. Dr. Abhijit, yeah, maybe hear from you how you think you fit in with the overall, the Smart City Index, which I shared earlier. But more importantly, give us some use cases as well, Abhijit, from your own experience, in terms of Grammatics in other countries and, some useful lessons for others as well. Go ahead. You're on mute, Dr. Abhijit. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with respect to where we fit in within the Smart City Index, right? Now we are seeing CCTVs, video sensors becoming very ubiquitous. So in fact, I would expect across all the categories you mentioned within the Smart City Index, there will be a play for Grammatics, right? Definitely reducing traffic congestion, definitely safety. In fact, in education right now, the CCTVs are being used to monitor whether the kids are paying proper attention and various such metrics, even for the classroom staff. Right, then for green technologies, detecting where the people are, like for smart lighting, it will our platform is being used to detect where the people are, so that all the lighting energy can be preserved based on that. So I'm expecting that across all of the areas which you indicated, there will be a play for Grammatics within that. So on your other question about the use cases, how different countries. So of course, I'll be happy to take the next 3 days talking about all the different use cases. But if I were to very quickly limit myself, so one very important area is, for instance, in India, safe cities are becoming very important. Okay, so safe cities, this was caused by some violence to women a number of years back, and now there is a big fund called the Nirbhaya Fund. And the intent here is leveraging the CCTVs to detect any potential action towards violence for people, especially women. So in fact, we are very actively working on building out many different use cases for that to obviously help promote safety within the community, right? And another use case I would like to talk about is with respect to factories. In fact, my colleague mentioned about the use of audio. So similarly, with respect to the video as well, especially around worker safety. So in different parts of the factory, the staff or the workers have to be compliant with various different safety uniform code. They may need to wear their hard hat, safety glasses, gloves, safety vest, safety belt, safety stockings, safety shoes, might need to wear their harness in different parts of it. And if they are not compliant, it's very possible that they may easily miss out on some of that, and that could create mortal risk. So here, using the installed CCTVs across the factory is just linked to our platform. Immediately, it will provide this rich suite of safety data, which can help promote safety within factories.
Okay, good. So Dr. Abhijit, there were a couple of questions here for you. Let me read it, but I think this question, you have more or less answered it earlier. I think the question was about installed CCTVs, and I think your response was very good. You talked about your AI, right? Your AI is very resilient. You've gone through many rounds of training and, you know, enhance your algorithm. So I think you have already more or less, you know, answered that question. So I'll move on to the next question. This is about traffic congestion, right? How well is your system suited for, you know, traffic violation and, you know, traffic congestion? Yeah.
So the platform is being used for various different kinds of traffic violation, right? Like, for example, let's say if a person is riding his two-wheeler without wearing a helmet, right? Then it correspondingly detects that. Or if a car is over speeding, or there is any kind of wrong turn or a red light violation. So the platform is used for wide range of such traffic violations, right? With respect to the congestion, in fact, that's actually a very good question. We can detect the congestion at a traffic junction, but now actually the platform is being also used to identify symptoms as to whether a congestion may be happening at another junction, which might be outside of the CCTV scope. And towards that, while video AI is the perception analytics, it will detect where the cars are, what speeds, and so on, right? But now we are bringing in an additional layer of big data analytics on top of the perception analytics to make predictions that will there be likely a congestion 3 junctions away, for example. So that's part of the platform, but it continues to evolve.
Right. Okay. Actually, Dr. Abhijit, Leon, and Axel, it's interesting because even though each of you have your own unique solution, you know, as Singapore companies, I believe you can even work together. I do see a lot of, you know, ways in which you can integrate the various solutions, like what Dr. Abhijit just said, you know. Dr. Abhijit, Grammatics, you know, you look at video analysis, you know, you could easily combine that capability with Leon's sensor, you know, in terms of finding anomalies, right? You know, with the visual. And then, you know, Excel, you know, air quality, you know, you can visibly see that if people in a factory or in homes are affected by it, you know, based on the indication from your capability. And, you know, putting it all together as one package, you know, we could offer it to many other smart city countries. Am I right to say that? Yeah.
Yes, I would think we are the eyes, Leon is the ears, and Excel is the nose.
Yeah, excellent. Well done. Yeah. Okay, Kim Ling, the last question is for you, Kim Ling. Kim Ling, I think, you know, the index which I talked about, I do believe, you know, you probably will meet with most of them. But my question to you is that, you know, and earlier we did hear presentations about, you know, whether it's brownfield or whether it's greenfield, right? Do you have challenges when you apply your, you know, analysis and your strategic, you know, offering to, especially, I'm sure most of your clients are government clients, you know. Does it make a big difference whether it's coming from a brownfield versus a greenfield approach?
Yes, definitely. You know, if it is a greenfield, it's definitely easier, you know, because you can go back to the fundamentals and start from there. But the brownfields, as in most government, they start somewhere. You know, so how do we work with them to progress and to innovate. So I have basically 4 principles that I work with them. And basically what I told them usually is, if you cannot manage what you cannot see, you know, as in the data, right? As in, you know, what's going on, right? You cannot improve what you don't measure. So you have to collect information, you have targets, right? You can measure them, then you know the delta, you can improve on it, right? And then the other thing is that you cannot innovate if you don't fail. Don't fear of innovation, because you're going to try new things. So you're bound to have some failure, but contain those failure, right? You know, take a risk management approach to investment projects that you're doing. Start small. Sometimes it's just to try out prototype. Yeah. And finally, I share with them, I say, you know, if you do not try, you cannot progress, right? So you have to try so that you can progress, you can learn from it, and learning is everything, right? So most of even the private sector organization I work with, I emphasize a lot on learning at all levels, because the society and the technology are moving so quickly. The change are happening, like what you in the opening you mentioned, right? The next 20 years will be faster than the last 200 years.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is something that I believe that is happening, and most organizations, including the governments, are very hard pressed, you know, to learn to adapt. Yeah. So that's the challenge, you know, how to adapt, how to innovate. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim Ling. I like the part where you say take small steps, inculcate the learning behavior, and also now another dimension which is very important is about agility, right?
That's right.
Speed,
that's right.
you know. Yeah,
right. Move fast.
Yes. Exactly, because
That's
technology changes so fast
so
now.
quickly.
You know, yes, you got to capitalize, leverage on the technology, and make sure you show the results and the outcomes, and then move on, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's important. Okay, one last question for all of you. Don't take too long. I give you about a minute or two to answer the question. I start off with Abhijit. Abhijit, I also take one of the questions from the audience. They talk about privacy, right? So your question would be, how do you deal with privacy? Because you're dealing with so much data, visual data. How do you handle that in the best way that can fit in with the overall smart city solution? Over to you, Abhijit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would probably say 98% of all the analytics we provide don't have anything to do directly with privacy, right? So detecting if, let's say, this car is over speeding, or the person is driving his motorcycle without wearing a helmet, or a congestion is about to happen, has not got anything directly to do with privacy. But there will be certain things, like for instance, we also have very powerful facial recognition as part of the platform. And here the privacy issues comes in, because we are working with different governments who may want to identify people in the blacklist, right? Now, blacklist is a operative word here. And this again is to promote community safety. But then how do we define the blacklist? Do we define a person who is evading his taxes to be in the blacklist? Yeah. Or do we should definitely consider, let's say, a child molester, for instance, to be in the blacklist? Right, but how do we define the boundaries here? So this is where there are the privacy issues which are inevitably coming in. Every technology finally has a strong positive side, but it can be used in some kind of a negative way. So here it is defining that blacklist, and it can be very different in different governments as to how we define. But that's where that privacy conundrum always comes in.
Yeah. So thanks, Dr. Abhijit. You know, in fact, these days everybody's talking about ethical issues, right? Even using AI, you know, and all kinds of other surveillance technology. So definitely, as long as you're not in denial, I think governments and society will address this as we go along. So thank you. Axel, my question to you is, where do you think your solution will evolve from here, right? Where do you think it will grow from here for smart city? Yeah, kind of a deployment.
That's a good question too, Rama. I think for our solutions, in terms of evolution of the product, I'd say for sensors alone, so for indoor air quality sensors, it's still a very, very huge market for us. Like this year alone, we had triple growth from previous year. we would look at different ranges of air quality sensors catering to different sectors. And of course, eventually, I'd say maybe tying up with partners who can also help us solve the problem, because we provide you all the faults, right? All the issues. And I think how it will evolve is automating also the problem. So we partner up with partners who can help us solve these air quality issues.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Axel. I think certainly, I mean, in this new age, it's all about collaboration and partnership, and I think you're heading in the right direction. Thank you. Leon, my question to you is based on the capabilities that you have today, where do you think will be your biggest impact in a typical smart city deployment?
I think our company's biggest impact will be to two things, right? One is to greatly reduce the way buildings are run currently, reduce the cost of buildings are run, right? So typical buildings maintenance cost is about 25%. We believe that we can reduce that to a single-digit %.
Right.
Yeah, so that itself, there's a lot of resources that can be reallocated in the economy. And secondly, it's the jobs that people actually do, right? One of the key things when we started our company is to really try to move human up the ladder, right? Rather than just keep focusing on very drudge work, we're trying to move people up the ladder. We are doing our best to push the management of government, right, and large companies that serve building companies, right, to move their staff into something that is, I would say, more meaningful in the long run.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Leon. Last question for Kim Ling. Kim Ling, my question to you is that, looking at in terms of advice that you would give, to those who are embarking on a very rigorous smart city deployment, what would be the best advice you would give to any of the clients who are coming up to you with this ambition?
Thank you for the question. I think this is a very common question that I get too. I think the issues is always about what are the priorities, where are the priorities of the cities, and what are the problems that the city wants to solve badly. Okay, start with those areas. Like for example, if water management is an issue, right? Try not to go and do other things. That could be an area that you want to start to demonstrate that the smart city solution will work. And to me, the technology is a little bit more down the stream until you have defined the problems, right? And what do you want to make visible so that you can control the issues and manage the issue more effectively, right? So start with something that is very concrete, very high impact, and try something, where you could, in an easier way to demonstrate the value of any of this initiative. Yeah, so usually I'll go with that and quickly scale it up once you have achieved certain level of success so that you build out the momentum. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kim Ling. I have to thank all the panelists, Axel, Dr. Abhijit, Leon, and Kim Ling. I think all of you have really done lots of justice to the topic about capitalizing on opportunities in smart cities and IT in terms of the solutions and the services that you provide. I really thoroughly enjoyed this session. I'd like to end off by just saying this, and I think it's useful for all of us to bear this in mind as well as a takeaway. The COVID-19 pandemic, mounting sustainability commitments, resource constraints, and continued urban growth are making a new case for smart city investments, right? And I think in some ways, all of you have touched on some aspects of this during our discussion. So thank you very much. Now it's back to you, Amanda. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody on the panel. Thanks very much, Rama, for leading the session. I personally found that very interesting in the way that these smart city solutions find a way to bring us as human beings together, either through the things that we breathe in through our nose, the things that we listen to with our ears, the things that we see, the effects that they have on our bodies and on our lives. So it's technology, but it's really all about being human. So very, very fascinating. And I appreciate you very much for leading the session. I know that was really exciting for our participants as well. Thanks, Rama.
Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, to round up the end of today's event, I would like to invite the president of the UAESBC to join us, Dr. Brian Shigar. Thank you for being with us today. I know you're in Dubai now, and I'd like to hand it over to you to give us some remarks about the session.
Thank you very much, Amanda, for your kind introduction. Your Excellency Jamal Abdullah Al Suwaidi, UAE Ambassador to Singapore and patron of the UAESBC, distinguished presenters and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to first take this opportunity on behalf of the UAESBC to congratulate the esteemed UAE leadership led by His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, also the UAE Ambassador, His Excellency Jamal Al Suwaidi, and all Emirati citizens on the UAE's Golden Jubilee celebrated on 2nd December. The achievements of the UAE people and its visionary leadership in just 50 years of nationhood are indeed monumental and an inspiration to all developing nations. In this momentous year for the UAESBC Committee on Workshops and Seminars rightly felt that it is appropriate to highlight in our annual UAE National Day workshop a key sector of the knowledge-based economy that both countries are targeting, namely smart cities and IT. Growth in smart city and IT solutions, even during the pandemic, has boosted the market sizes of the sector in both countries. The UAE compounded annual growth rate in the ICT sector is expected to reach US $66 billion in 2024, while the current market size of the ICT sector in Singapore as of end 2020 was 22.9 billion and is growing rapidly. For the past 2 years, Abu Dhabi and Dubai have been ranked as the most IT-savvy cities in the Middle East and North Africa, ranking 28th and 29th respectively out of the 118 cities on the Smart City Index in 2021. Singapore's leading status in the world's Smart City Index has been unchallenged for 3 years in running. Both countries are graded high in all the 5 key indicators of a smart city, namely health, safety, mobility, activities, opportunities, and governance. The Abu Dhabi Singapore Smart Cities Open Innovation Challenge, launched earlier this year by the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, Enterprise Singapore, and IPI Singapore, is a testament of the mutual respect and support that the UAE and Singapore governments have towards each other's strengths and capabilities in this sector. This afternoon, we have received highly informative and interesting presentations from qualified experts and key agencies in the sector. The UAESBC corporate sponsor member, Sabana Jurong, represented by Mr. Eugene Sia, has very effectively conveyed Sabana Jurong's extensive expertise and experience in integrated smart city solutions, delivered a broad overview of this important and evolving sector, and demonstrated how megatrends in smart city and IT will change the way we live, work, and play. The head of FDI for Abu Dhabi Investment Office, Mr. Salvatore Lavallo, highlighted in his presentation the importance the Emirate of Abu Dhabi places on investments in ICT innovations by rolling out attractive incentives to ensure that Abu Dhabi continues to be one of the most attractive ICT markets in the Middle East. Ms. Aisha Al-Boksha from Digital Dubai demonstrated unequivocally in her presentation the Emirate of Dubai's keenness in the implementation and adaptation of smart city solutions. The UAESBC is delighted to have in our panel discussion today Singapore-based smart city IT entrepreneurs and experts, namely Ms. Excel Chua from Yuhu, Mr. Leon Lim from Ground Up AI, Dr. Abhijit Shanbag from Grammatics, and Mr. Tan Kim Leng from KDI Asia. Our knowledgeable panelists have shared with us the innovative and interesting products, services, and experience in the smart city and IT domain. The panel was brilliantly moderated by Mr. P. Ramakrishna, CEO of CIO Academy and a member of the UAESBC, who has himself extensive background in IT covering both public and private sectors. I want to again thank our guest of honor, His Excellency Jamal Abdullah Al Suwaidi, for his opening address. And I want to record my gratitude to the presenters, Mr. Eugene Sia, Mr. Salvatore Lavado, Ms. Aisha Al-Baksha, our panelists, namely Ms. Excel Chua, Mr. Leon Lim, Dr. Abhijit Shanbag, and Mr. Tan Kim Leng, and the panel moderator, Mr. P. Ramakrishna, for their collective involvement and contribution, which has greatly contributed to the success of this webinar. I also thank our MC, Ms. Amanda Williams, for efficient conduct of the whole seminar, and Huda, the head of our UAESBC Secretariat, for diligent efforts in organizing this workshop. Finally, on behalf of the UAESBC Business Council, I thank all participants from Singapore, UAE, and other countries for being part of this highly informative webinar that is oriented towards knowledge-based economy, to which both countries are very committed. We look forward to your participation in our future events and wish you all season's greetings and the best for 2022. Thank you all, and back to you, Amanda.
Thanks, Dr. Brian. Very well said. Ladies and gentlemen, we've now come to the end of the UAE Investment Workshop 2021 Opportunities in Smart City and IT webinar. On behalf of UAESBC, I want to thank you for your kind attention and participation today. We welcome any of your comments and feedback via email at contactus@uaesbc.com. Until our next event, thank you all and stay safe.